Today I'm going to show you guys the biggest mod to date that I've installed on my Tacoma. Hey guys, it's Chloe. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel. I just installed this entire deck system in the bed of my Tacoma. I am so excited about it, and now that it's here, I want to share all the little details and my thoughts about it with you guys. I installed this whole thing on camera, and I'm going to be showing that in today's video. But before I even got a deck system, I had a lot of different questions, like if I had to drill holes in my bed in order to install it, how much bed height this thing actually compromised, and if I could still use the outlet in my bed. So I'm going to be sharing all those details with you guys today, so let's get into it. So this deck system is really cool, and if you can't tell, it's a neat little drawer system that has these two main drawers that you can pull out. It's got ammo cans on both sides that are closed with these two lids that you can pop off. And these ammo cans are actually used for structural support of the whole system, but they provide really deep storage. It has a lot of other cool little features like a stainless steel ruler and a bottle opener as well. And these drawers are very sturdy and really high quality. As you can see, if I pull them out slowly, they'll stop by themselves, which is really nice. They also close really nicely. And believe it or not, the drawers, the ammo can lids, the top, basically everything that you see that's plastic here is actually made out of 100% recycled high-density polyethylene, which is a thermoplastic that's really strong and does really well in the heat and cold, and the subframe is made out of steel. So this deck system comes with some really cool accessories, like this crossbox. These dividers that nicely fit inside your drawers and can help you organize stuff. And this organizer, which is meant to fit the bigger drawer. Now these are just some of the base accessories that the actual deck comes with, which is really nice, but I also got some other accessories like the D-bag, which by the way is a really funny name, and I think they were doing that on purpose. But it's this really nice hard shell backpack with a lot of different components that fits perfectly within the deck drawers. Now speaking of the drawers, they're actually pretty deep. They're pretty much the length of the bed, and as you can see, I'm pushing this cross box all the way back, and it fits pretty far in. One of the limitations though is you can only pull them out basically just to the end of the tailgate. There's physical reasons behind that, but in each drawer you can put up to 200 pounds of stuff, and at the top here you can put up to 2,000 pounds of stuff as long as you distribute the payload evenly. Now obviously this deck is really big, and when this thing shipped, it was a pretty big package. It had to come on a pallet and on a freight. I had to schedule the delivery, and the package was 265 pounds. But I was pleasantly surprised with the condition of the box. It looked basically brand new, it was completely undamaged, and that's pretty impressive considering it came from Ohio all the way to Southern California. I was a little bit worried about getting this product in particular shipped to my house because it is particularly large, and I've read all these horror stories on all the Tacoma forums about waiting a long time to get some big mod, and then when you finally get it months later, the package is damaged. And I know that's totally not the fault of the company itself, but I was really pleased because DECKED seems to have a really good company that handles all their freight and all the shipping and everything. And it also came to my door in a week, and considering this thing is huge and has so many parts and pieces, that is pretty impressive. And after doing some research, it turns out they have this unique manufacturing process that allows them to quickly make their parts from recycled materials. So even during this whole pandemic thing where materials are short and getting a product like this is really difficult because it's in high demand, they aren't back ordered, which is just really nice as a consumer. So to be transparent, I actually talked to a couple people before I got this deck system because while I thought it was really cool, and it is really cool, I had some concerns like the bed outlet thing and how much height I was going to be losing. Luckily, I no longer have those concerns now that I have it, but obviously I want to share as many details as I can with you guys and share the pros and cons of this deck system with you guys. First off, this deck system takes up the entire length and width of your truck bed. Now, this can be considered both a pro and a con because while it fills the entire length and width. This allows the deck system to maximize its space for storage, but now this also means you only have access to your drawers, your ammo cans, and the top of the deck bed, of course. And the top of the deck bed is limited in the sense that you lose a little bit of height. So I know in the frame it looks like this deck comes up really high, and it does, but you still have about maybe a third of the height that you had before. It's 6.5 inches between the top of the deck and the top of the bed, but one good thing about it is that because it goes over the wheel wells, you now have a completely flat surface, so this surface is actually larger than the actual bed surface. You still have access to the factory bed rails, you can still put a lot of different timing covers on with the system, and you can still tie stuff down. I just actually thought of another advantage of this coming up high. I know this might sound really specific, but basically when I'm off-roading with a couple different people, a lot of times we'll stop to take camera breaks, or we'll take food breaks, or we'll just stop to like look at the trail or whatever offshoot we're going on, and a lot of us will get out and kind of convene around somewhere, usually one of the truck beds, and we'll have drinks, or we'll have phones, or in my case we'll have cameras, and we kind of just need a place to put stuff down. And because this comes higher up now, we actually now have a place to kind of circle around and put stuff down on and easily access it. Now, again, I know that's a very, very specific case, but that's another positive for me. Another concern I had with getting a deck specifically for my Tacoma was access to my bed outlet. Now, unfortunately, when you install the deck, you don't have access where the original outlet is placed, but there is ways to fix that. The easy way is you can get a short extension cord with a flat top, plug that in before you install the deck, and have that hang out. That is a simple solution, but I wanted something a little more cleaner and a little more factory, so to speak. So what I did is I actually relocated the outlet by unbolting it from where it originally was. I had to cut one of my decked ammo cans. It was kind of a DIY thing, and if you watch to the install part of this video, you can see exactly what I did, but I basically relocated it so that I can access it when I open the top of one of my ammo cans, which is nice. Now also during my install, I had to drill 9 holes into my composite bed. Now the number of holes will vary depending on what your Tacoma you have, what bedside you have. It might not be the exact same as mine, and the only reason I'm mentioning this is because I know a lot of people out there aren't really a fan of permanent mods, so to speak, or basically mods that you can't undo, and drilling into your composite bed is kind of a one and done thing. I mean, there are things you can do to fix it, but I'd say it's kind of permanent. I did talk to someone who had the exact same Tacoma as me, 2019 TRD Off-Road with a short bed that actually had a deck system as well, and he was actually able to install the whole thing without drilling any holes, kind of going against the instructions, and he has been running it and it's been completely fine. I could see it as not being a super necessary thing, but I personally just wanted to follow the decked instructions. I wanted support to make sure this thing didn't come out for any reason, even though it is 200 pounds. And also, I never plan on selling this truck or taking out the deck for that matter, so I'm never going to see the holes anyways. There's also holes in the bed as this truck comes in its stock form to basically drain water. So for me, I'm not really worried about these holes, but I did want to mention it to be fully transparent with you guys and give you guys as much information as I could, and let you guys know that it is possible to install this thing without drilling into your truck bed. But me personally, I would just follow the decked instructions. Now getting into more positives about this deck system, like I said before, this is a very, very nice way to organize some of your stuff, and in most cases it's easier to access your stuff when you put them in these drawers rather than putting them in the bed. They also have an optional locking kit that you can get, which is really nice so that you can lock up anything that you need to have locked up. In my case, camera equipment for YouTube or pew-pews. And on top of the locking aspect of these drawers are also weatherproof. They're not 100% perfect waterproof and they're not watertight, but they will inhibit a lot of water and dust from coming into your drawers. Now, I haven't tested this out. I haven't even pulled the truck out of my garage since I've gotten these, so we'll definitely have to do an update after I've taken it out on the trails or through maybe some really bad rain, but these are basically designed to prevent bad elements from getting into your stuff. Another thing I love about this is its appearance. Now, I normally leave my thoughts on appearance out of videos for a lot of different products because I realize appearance is really just a subjective thing. But in this case, I think the deck looks so good. I have to mention it. All of these machined stainless steel pieces look nice, and the thermoplastic actually, in my opinion, looks a lot better than the composite bed. Also, what I really love is when you're looking at the deck system from the side of the truck, the pattern on the top with all the DECKED logos almost looks like a tire tread pattern, and it just looks nice because it kind of matches the tires. If you make it to the install part of this video, you'll see that the details on this deck system are really fantastic. Everything looks and feels high quality, and that's really a huge plus for me. Now, the reason I personally went with the deck system was to store my off-road recovery equipment. Now, I have traction boards, a jack, a shovel, a lot of other air compressor accessories, my camera equipment for YouTube, and I just basically wanted a secure, organized, and easy to access way of storing all of this stuff. If you've been watching my channel for a little while, a few months ago, I talked about how I was kind of finalizing my bed setup, and of course, this is when I didn't have the decked at all. I had my traction boards kind of back here. I also had a molly panel where I was putting my shovel, and that setup was nice, but it did have its limitations. I would have to always tie down the jack to my bed whenever I was going on an off-road trip, and I really kind of wanted a way to carry it around all the time. On top of that, I didn't have a secure way of locking my traction boards that looked nice. Now, after I made that video showing you guys how I had my whole bed set up, I had a couple of you reach out to me and tell me that a decked might be a good fit for me. So that's when I started looking into it more, and I started to realize that mainly I'm using my truck bed to store just my recovery equipment. I mean, occasionally I'll be transporting stuff, but for the most part, it's just my recovery equipment that really lives in my bed. So the deck system is actually a perfect option for me because, like I said, it offers that security, organization, and also like a weatherproof way, which I didn't have before. So that is why I went with the deck system, but there are also a lot of other small features that I thought about secondhand that I really like that the deck provided. Like, for example, like I said before, the whole surface area is increased because you don't have your wheel wells anymore. So now I can put a bigger mattress than a twin in my truck bed when I'm camping. On top of that, now that I have the deck, I'm starting to realize that you could do a lot of really cool mods to it. I've seen people do really cool things, like they put a little stovetop thing in one of their drawers, which is really cool, and there's basically endless possibilities and endless things you can do with the deck to make it more your own. One last thing I wanted to mention before we get into the install video is if I added a leaf spring in the rear of my Tacoma to accommodate for the new weight that was added with this deck. Now, the deck weighs 200 pounds when there's nothing in the drawers or the ammo cans or nothing on top. So that's 200 pounds of static weight in the truck bed. I personally noticed no difference in my truck's height in the rear or in the front for that matter. I have the stock leaf springs, but I do have aftermarket Fox shocks that are a little bit stiffer, so that could be the reason I haven't noticed any difference. But also 200 pounds of static weight spread across the bed isn't too much weight. Now, with the accessories in my bed, I do have a jack and traction boards, and the jack is an off-road jack, so it's pretty big. I think it's about 40 pounds. Plus, with the traction boards and my other small recovery equipment, I'm guessing I'll have maybe 60 to 70 pounds of accessories in the drawers. So I'm not sure if I'm going to see any effect on my truck. If I do start to see my truck squat, I will add a leaf spring, but I'm hoping I can avoid that for now because I want to keep my ride pretty similar to how it is. I'd be curious to know if any of you guys out there have a deck and have put enough weight in where you need to add a leaf. If you have, leave a comment down below. Alright, so I got all the pieces laid out over here. We got Cody playing with one of the boxes. These are the instructions which I'm going to be following, and then I also have the decked install video from YouTube playing on the background. It's actually really funny if you want to get like concrete details about... Oh, he just ripped the entire thing. This video is actually really funny, and if you want to get some concrete details about how to install your deck and some really good tips, I recommend watching this. So if we're being real, the instructions here are going to be your best friend, and I know a lot of us don't like to read instructions and just dive headfirst, but trust me, they did a good job with these ones. So rather than just repeating what's in the book, I'm still going to show you all the steps, but I'm also going to mention some tips that I personally found helpful and I wish I knew before I started. Also, if you're curious, it took me 4.5 hours to do this entire install myself. Deck says it'll take you 3 if you have another person helping out. Now, keep in mind, I did have a buddy helping me out, but he's a black and white sheep that's more of a hindrance than a help if I'm being honest. Don't tell him I said that. And on top of that, setting up my camera takes time, so I'm guessing that the extra time it took me can be attributed to those two things. 3 hours sounds like a lot, but this install is actually pretty easy. It's basically like building IKEA furniture or a Lego set, which is again why the instructions are really helpful. I will say though that the decked video I was watching earlier is absolutely hilarious in and of itself, and even if you aren't installing a deck, you should just watch it for the fun of it. I'll have a link to it down in the description below. I've noticed that Deck seems to have their own sense of humor with some funny things written on the packages and in the instructions, which makes this install even more fun as well. Overall, this decked install is really easy and honestly it's really fun. I find building stuff like this just really therapeutic, so I really enjoyed it. But if you're someone who doesn't like that kind of stuff, you can get this installed at a shop. I know places like 4-Wheel Parts can do this install for you if you don't want to do it or you don't have the tools or the time, but overall I'd say anyone could do this. If you decide to relocate the bed outlet like I did, before you transfer the deck into your bed, you need to remove it from its location, which is just 4 bolts, and unplug its harness. When I install the ammo cans, I'll show you how I cut into them and transfer the outlet, and also yes, I know it's really dusty back there. So something in general that's helpful to note is that you don't want to over torque any of these bolts. In many cases, since the plastic is soft, over torquing can strip it, so just be careful about that. If you can't tell already, high level, the basic steps to install the deck is to first put the plastic frame partially together outside of the truck, just because there's more room out there, then go into the truck bed, drill your first holes, then put the frame into the truck, drill some more holes, and then finish building the rest of the deck in the truck. This is how Deck says to do it, and the pieces aren't that heavy, so transferring them is not that bad. Now getting back to the outlet relocation, I basically drew the shape of the outlet and holes onto masking tape so I knew where to cut, and then I used my jigsaw to cut out the cross shape. To make my life a little easier, I also drilled a hole in the corners of the cross to get the cut started. Now, as you're witnessing, this is all kind of freehand, so my estimates weren't perfect. In fact, I actually cut too much out, so I had to cover some of it up with electrical tape, but it wasn't a huge issue to me. I installed the outlet upside down for easier access, and yes, I realized that water could seep in, but the good thing is that the ammo can is covered, so I'm overall just not that worried about it. I used a thick piece of fabric and some double-sided tape to mask the existing hole in the bedside because, as you could tell, a lot of dust collects back there in the fender well, and I wanted to block it off even more if possible. The last thing I pretty much did was just assemble the drawers and then put them into the deck. And then the final steps are to install the fun hardware stuff like the ruler and the bottle opener. As I said earlier in the video, there's also an optional locking kit that you can get for the DECKED. So I installed this as well, but if you don't get the locking kit, the DECKED also comes with these rubber caps that you can put in the holes so they're just not holes. So overall, I tried to cover as much information as I could about this DECKED system, and especially the questions that I personally had before I installed this DECKED system, but I'm sure I missed some stuff, so if you have any more questions, you can leave a comment down below and I will do my best to answer it. I am super excited to put my DECKED through some real-world testing when we're out on the trails, specifically when it's really dusty and in through some inclement weather conditions. I can't wait to actually use it. I also want to thank DECKED for making such an amazing product. I feel like now with some of the larger companies, it's hard to find not only quality in a product, but also really clear instructions to follow, and just a lot of videos from the company itself online, just showing a lot of different features of the DECKED and giving me a good visual and a good idea of what the DECKED could do for me. So thank you, DECKED, for that, and nice job. Thank you for watching today's video. If you want more DECKED videos, or you like Tacoma mod videos or off-road videos, feel free to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I also have an Instagram. If you want more content from me, it is at ChloeKuoTaco. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.